Good. So let's see. Hi, Vicky. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Hi, Nichelle. Nice for you to join us.
Hello. Hi.
And hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack. Wait a minute. Careful with
Hello, Jack Conway.
There we go.
With your ubiquitous audio earmuffs. So first, Matt, how did everybody do in our historical power outage?
We died.
Survived.
And didn't quite go to heaven.
Didn't quite go to heaven.
4 days for us, no disasters. Luckily, I have a wood stove and I did a lot of wood prep work, so we were good.
Yeah, we were fine. We have a wood stove and a generator, but it was getting out the lane that was the problem. I was worried, but I got it cleaned up. But that was the thickest ice storm I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
There were 3/4 of an inch of ice in some places.
Yeah, I wanted to get out in my car, and the car, it was like in the supermarket where things have a plastic coating. It had this 1/4 inch coating of ice, and I sort of chipped away at it 1 inch at a time, trying not to ruin the paint job. It took me about an hour.
Wow. I just want to say hi, everybody. It's Joe. I was fighting with the mute button there for a minute. I'm actually still dealing with flooded, the bike shop is flooded from frozen pipes still. So I've got 3 houses that didn't have any heat, and I'm trying to handle this from Kentucky. So I'm just, I'll be muted the most of the whole meeting, but I just want to say hello.
Joe, you're welcome to come back. You don't need to stay in Kentucky if you want. We'd love to have you.
Right now, during that storm, I wish I was back.
Smart gal going to Kentucky.
Yeah, no, actually, it was good to be out of town. You didn't
Yeah,
miss.
it was.
You didn't miss
It was very unpleasant.
Yeah.
No, if I was there, I would have been able to handle things a lot better than who the people that I had to hire to do it. So
Yeah, but that's too bad about the pipes.
yes,
That we had just like 2 weeks ago swapped out our old wood stove for a very nice fireplace insert, but fireplace inserts throw about 1/4 of the heat. So they're
Right.
very pretty, but we hightailed it back to New York for 2 days.
Hmm.
But we're still here doing like 12 hours of it. It was, keeping the fire going. But we were fortunate. I think if it had been 1 more night, our pipes would have froze.
Maybe.
But Dan, do you know if anyone else is joining us? I did get emails from Spencer earlier asking about Trello and things, so I'm assuming he'll be here.
No, Spencer will not be.
Oh, he's not.
They have a family, not health emergency, just a logistical emergency. So he has to pick his son up at the basketball game, whatever. So why don't we start, Simon?
Okay, so roll call, Dan, Simon, Matt, and Chet. So we have a quorum of
Hello,
the,
Chet.
the only members, because we're missing one. Vicky, thanks for joining us. And Jack, Nichelle. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, and Joe, thanks for joining us as well. We had publicized this to the Onteora Eco Club, with whom I met via the referral that was made via Cynthia Nicotin to the school principal, which Dan then took up on, and then Dan wasn't able to attend. So I went to their Eco Club meeting a week ago, and 3 of the students expressed an interest in some kind of participation in what we're doing. But at least one of them said they wouldn't be able to join today's meeting because of an extracurricular conflict, but David's kind enough to record it for us, so they'll be able to view the recording if they're interested.
So they're as busy as mid-career adults. those students.
Right. So we can talk about that when we get to the voiceful visioning,
Yeah.
etc. So roll call, we've covered that. Approval of last month's minutes. Did anyone have a chance to look at them, since I know I was very late in sending them out? Obviously, Dan, you did, since you actually sent them, but you and I have reviewed them. I'm not sure whether anyone else has had the opportunity to do so. Chet, Matt?
I did. They're fine. I approve.
Chet, same thing? Okay, so it sounds like we have a vote to approve, and it sounds like everyone's thumbs up. So we'll consider the January minutes approved, and I will send them on to the town clerk, Dawn.
Just a note of one, thanks to you, Simon, for doing them every month. It's thanks for a somewhat thankless task. And also, this month seemed more thorough and more accurate than usual. So double thanks.
I don't know why that would be. Maybe I'd taken better notes during
You took somebody slipped a memory booster pill in your soup.
something. Like
Actually,
that.
I want to agree with Dan. First of all, appreciate you doing it. Second of all, these were much better minutes than usual, so well done.
That doesn't say much about previous minutes, does it?
I can't answer that question.
Simon, you're being half empty at the moment.
It's okay. I appreciate the compliments. Thank you, but all very much, and we'll consider them approved and move on to talk about new member or members. Dan.
Yes. So we've had, in our lexicon, a surge of interest in potential new members. Michelle is here tonight with us, and I've had conversations with Michelle Patel and with Nari Kai, and Simon's had conversations with a bunch of the 3 or 4 of the students in the Ontiora Eco Club, and we're still trying to talk with Joe, see if we can get Joe interested in moving from a very helpful friend to a member. So there's about 6 or 7 real live interested amateur environmentalists who are considering joining us more formally.
Has anyone responded to Jim Safranco's posting on the town website, and are we setting ourselves some kind of a time frame by when we want to add one official member, as well as get as many volunteers who will participate, like Jack has done and Joe is doing, and others? The town law says that we're limited to 5 members, while the state law says that an OCAC can have anywhere between 3 and 9 members. We spoke to Jim about this some time ago, and he said he wasn't of a mind to adjust the town law to allow us to increase the number at this stage, but that to the extent that we wanted to have members who were not officially on the town website as members, but were still doing the work of members, that would be fine. And that would be fine with us too. Vicky, I don't know whether you've got anything to add to that.
People who are not official members can be put on the website as associate members,
Okay.
so that their names are included and their activity and volunteerism is acknowledged.
Right.
Great.
Right. And for anybody considering that, the only real difference between a member and an associate member is voting on issues that we decide we need to vote on.
Dan,
Frankly, the only thing that we
who are
vote
the
on, as far as
official
I know,
members
is
at this point. Oh, sorry, Simon, go ahead.
it was the 4 of us, Dan, Simon, Matt, and Chet, because after Don moved on to the planning board, he had been a member until he joined the planning board.
Okay.
So we need one other official member. And frankly, the only thing we vote on is the approval of the minutes, as far as I know. So realistically, an associate member has exactly the same responsibilities and participation as a regular member. We'd love
Yeah,
as many
one or
associate.
two, yeah, 1 or 2 things a year, I think we vote on, like, Matt's, submission of the grant monies, things that involve either finances or something legal, we'll vote on, but those are rare.
So when are we going to give ourselves to sort of, one, nominate an official member, and two, perhaps ask who would like to become an associate member and therefore have their contribution recognized by being shown as an associate member under the OCAC section of the website?
I think we should have that stuff organized and together by the time of the next town board meeting, not the one that they pushed off to next week, but the one in March. I don't see any reason why we can't have an official member proposed and a couple of new associate members by the next meeting.
I agree with that.
Do we have to take a vote on that?
So what do we say, by March 5th, say?
Is that
Sure.
when the next?
What's-
I think if we're going to get it onto the town board agenda for them to, one, approve the member who's being nominated, we need to do it in plenty of time for Jim to be able to review it and include it in the town board preparation,
Yeah.
right, Vicky?
Let's just get it together we'll just use that deadline as the next town board meeting, and then we'll submit for the following, because everything takes way longer than we always expect.
Yeah,
Okay.
and, some of the people who are sort of test driving us, I'd like to give them time to
I
see
agree.
what it feels like to go to, 1 or 2 meetings, sort of, to start work on, on a project. So there's no reason to pressure new potential members.
So let's give it a month, and then after that, we'll propose to the town board. Hopefully we'll be ready.
All right, sounds good. And I think I see Nick has just joined us. Nick, you're one of the Ontiora students that was in the Eco Club. Is that right? Well, I see Nick there, but I'm not hearing any response. So let's keep going.
Okay. New members. Next is coordination with other CAC and EC environmental commissions in other towns. At our last meeting, we had, I'm forgetting her name, but
Anne Belmont.
and Belmont from the town of Rochester, and John Messerschmidt expressed interest. He's also in the ECC of the town of Rochester. I think that the one thing we talked about coordinating with them and with other towns was the pollinator pathway, because a pathway, we're establishing our own pollinator gardens, and there is is it the Ulster County or is it the DEC? I'm not sure or is it Scenic Hudson? I'm not sure who the sponsoring agency is for the pollinator pathway, but we agreed with the Rochester people that it would make sense to coordinate and even eventually plan on publicizing our pollinator pathway work once they're both planned and planted.
I think it might have been the Woodstock Land Conservancy that Katrine Jewell is
Right.
as a member of, Dutay is a member of, but that's, I think, how that came up.
Right.
Well, if we're going to do coordination, should we do it before we plan?
Yeah, I thought we set up a sort of a pollinator pathway subcommittee, and why don't we, well, of Dan and Jack. So when we get to that, let's talk through what we're going to do, but let's maybe talk more broadly. I thought also, Dan, we talked about education programs and maybe also coordinating education programs, including potentially the idea of inviting other towns to participate in the energy efficiency session that Matt is coordinating at the town library in June.
So yes and yes, and let me add, so Jack and I have not met yet. Jack and I will meet in the next couple of weeks, and we know there's been a bunch of sites that have been mentioned and discussed, including Joe Ostrander's site on her property. And we'll start to gather information about other potential sites. It's too bad, Maxanne Resnick just resigned as the executive director of Woodstock Land Conservancy, but I can call her and ask her to put me in touch with the Woodstock Land Conservancy people. And also the Envision Boyceville project, in talking to Cynthia, that it seemed like the most popular or one of the most likely projects is going to be a pollinator garden, probably on the Onteora property.
And also to add to that, the Eco Club at the high school will be very interested in turning one of their quite large quadrangles into essentially as much of a pollinator garden, because they're all tired of seeing just a plain grassy area. And apparently the people who do the maintenance are tired of cutting it. So they'd be very happy to have a pollinator garden in the school's quad. I mean, it'd be quite a large pollinator garden to the extent it took over a large piece of it, because they have some raised beds in there, and they have a rain barrel, and they have a compost pile. But other than that, it's basically one big grassy area. So they're very interested in
I
participating.
know this is scheduled later in the agenda, but since we're talking about it, Dan, let's take a tour and go up to the Onteora and see if we can get there. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to drop out early, so I'm glad we're talking about this before I go anyway. I've
Okay,
had a
well,
rough day.
So I think, Dan, you've got the email address and the information for Rich DeRuvo, who's the coordination between the high school and the Eco Club.
yeah,
And so he would probably be the person to start with, as well as the members of the Eco Club. And if Nick's, as I suspect, is one of those members, that would be a useful coordination person as well.
yeah.
Joe and I talked about this, and I think I told a couple of you, but for everybody's information, Joe does not want to be the custodian of the garden on her place. We need people to take care of it too. So let's keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, when Joe gets her pipes fixed, we might be able to
No,
put in a sprinkler system or a
Joe,
a
get your
drip-
pipe fixed.
Yeah,
a drip watering system.
I'm waiting
so at
for the
least-
call from the plumber now, actually.
Right.
Joe's
I-
the generous landlord. And
Well, come
And-
springtime, maybe we can put in a drip irrigation system, so at least it won't turn into a wasteland.
There you go. There you
I
go.
want to add one thing about reaching out to the other towns and just encourage that the town of Rochester is light years ahead of us in terms of their community outreach. They have newsletters, they have a Facebook page, they do movies for the town, and they really are someone that we should latch on to so that we can emulate their success and continue educating our town of Olive residents.
Very good point, Matt. It's fun to do a garden, but the real issue here is to encourage other people to do it too.
Mhm.
Get
Right.
it become an
on
educational
their
project.
properties, yeah. Now, we're going to end up, even with the high school, with maybe, half an acre total or quarter acre total. But if 100 people plant, an eighth of an acre, that's like 20 acres of pollinator. So yes. But so also, speaking of education, there's another, film series do not need to be limited to towns. That these days, they're mostly all on Zoom. And I believe the Woodstock Land Conservancy, in conjunction with the Woodstock Jewish Congregation and their environmental subcommittee, has been running a film series And we can, we can just latch on, we can just latch on to that and invite people to those screenings. And they're all apparently good environmental films. I think, as Matt's been pointing out for a year, our big black hole is we don't have names and addresses. We don't have a mailing list of people to reach out to that is of any substance. So that's probably a project that, getting a list of people who we can communicate with, whether it's newsletters or films or pollinators, that seems to be a next priority. What do you think, Matt?
Dan, you're right, but I also see us growing. I mean, we have more people on the screen tonight than we have in many, many months. And I think that's indicative of the fact that word is starting to get out about what the OCAC is doing. I want to add one more thing, which is during the big freeze, we had to go to the firehouse a few times to get water. And the firehouse people were really, really proactive. They had the place up and running. They had it open 24 hours. You could go there whenever you wanted. And they have a really nice meeting room. I spoke to the Bruce, who runs the dump, who's also a perhaps lieutenant in the fire department. And he thought we might be able to use that space as a presentation space or a movie space. They have room there for 50 or 60 people with a huge screen, very well lit. It's a very nice room. So I
You're
would
talking
also
about the
encourage us
Olive
to
Bridge
cons-
one, right?
Yeah, the one in Olive Bridge. I would
On Mill
encourage
Road?
people
The
on Mill
one
Road.
on Mill Road? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna ask you guys, if you did a movie night, where would you do it?
Either
So
there,
that's
either
an,
there or the library's been very generous with their
Library will do it, but Matt's right, that's very good space. But there's
Yeah.
several firehouses around.
Well, the
Library's
Olive-
already set up for movies though. So that's a good space
Right.
there.
Yeah, and the Olive Bridge Firehouse is one that's a little more centrally located. The West Shokan's a little far for some people.
Mhm.
And it's nice to mix it up.
and they do a lot there with Boy Scouts and fundraisers for spaghetti dinners and things. So talking about opening up the knowledge and education, there's one of the outlays. If they start to see us, and they'll be like, oh, all right, then I remember that. And then more people might get interested.
Okay, I gotta run, folks. Talk to you
Okay,
later.
I'll be in
Bye,
touch.
Jack.
I'll be in touch, Jack,
Boy, when he runs, he runs.
like a rabbit.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, so my notes so far on coordination with our CACs and ECCs say we've spoken with Rochester, and Belmont joined us last time, and John Messerschmidt has been in conversation with Dan. We talked about pollinator pathways and what we might do across the area, perhaps with the medium of the Woodstock Land Conservancy as being a sort of an area entity that's focused on this. Talk about education programs, outreach to emulate Rochester, Facebook page, newsletter, and our mailing list, or our mailing list, which could be a joint mailing list with other CACs, ECCs.
yeah, let me just formally suggest that we add a film program to our educational curriculum. And it may not even be something we need to originate, because we know of two other organizations that conduct film programs, environmental films.
So will you coordinate with them to?
Yeah, I'll coordinate with them.
Dan will coordinate with
I
them.
know some people on both on the Woodstock Land Conservancy and the Jewish congregation.
I know two people as well on both. Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that Maxine is not on the step down. That's news to me.
Maxanne was there for about 7 years and she did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there was there was no negatives. I just think she,
Mhm.
She did lots and lots of work and
Mhm.
wanted to do something different,
Right.
but she was very
Um,
effective. She was very effective.
Absolutely. Also, when you were talking about the mailing lists, I do believe, Simon, you're on with the next door thing. So we could look into social media. You can do a, not a petition, but you can send out queries and ask people if they're interested. And that's it's a free site that you can contact all your neighbors, and it only contacts people that are in your radius. And they do, I think 100 of them free a month or something. You can submit a postcard to ask them to get online. So that would be something that's no cost to us, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can talk about this program. That's just to invite more people onto the Nextdoor site. But once you're on that Nextdoor site, it's a platform just like social media that you can talk back and forth and exchange ideas, and similar to between a classifieds and Facebook morph together.
That's a good idea, Joe. The other thing that we can add is the Olive Dems are willing to help us reach out. And the Olive Community Facebook page has, I don't know, 400 or something. So we can reach out to those people as well.
Yeah, there was
What is
something,
the Olive Dames?
Democrats.
all Democrats,
Oh, the Democrats, Dems. I'm like, what's that? Sorry.
Sorry.
Dems, pubs, right? Yeah, and we've been mentioning it off and on, but there was the pump storage group had what 300 or 400 people. I don't think we've ever formally reached out to them. Remember the pump storage near catastrophe and the great community organizing that they did?
So let's reach out to them.
Let's reach out to them. For anybody that hasn't heard of it, it was, contact me and I'll tell you the story of a near environmental disaster that was a bullet that we dodged.
Dan, I thought you had actually reached out to them not long after we managed to dodge that bullet, and they had expressed some interest in participating with us. I'm not sure if that went anywhere.
Yeah, it got us Liz Dinasnera, who joined us for about 6 months.
Right.
She came from there. She was one of the social media organizers.
It was great and very helpful.
Yeah. But I think it's time to do it again. I mean, they still have their list. They're not, there's no threat of a pump storage plant now, but they have a valuable list of people who were once environmentally engaged.
So will we ask them to send it out to their list, or will we ask them to share their list? I mean,
I'd like to ask them to share their list, at least share that if they know who is an Olive resident.
Okay, so you'll take care of that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, all good ideas. I think the Nextdoor thing is a little problematic in my view. One, because we don't have a town Facebook page, we don't have an OCSC Facebook page, and if we try to go a different route, I think we have a danger of diluting message. And Nextdoor is, most of the stuff I read on there is pretty scurrilous. So it is useful for babysitting and things, but there's an awful lot of stuff about the Kingston roundabouts and people saying, all sorts of stuff. So,
Okay.
but
That's a good word, Simon. Scurrilous. That might be the word of the day for me.
it's longer than 5 letters, so it doesn't fit into my Wordle.
Simon comes from the country that invented our language. So
Yeah.
Chet has something he wants to say.
We've talked about communications before, but just a reminder, having many different ways to communicate is great, but we need to have content. You can get one letter out and then you've stalled. So we really do need, we've been talking about communications strategy. We talked about a calendar for the last year of activities. We don't have a calendar of activities, so there's a bunch of stuff that we would have to do in terms of content. I think it's great to explore those channels. And then there was a question about if there's, any restrictions that the town board would put on us in terms of communicating. Do we need to, how does that, we're supposed to advise the town board. Just want to make sure, I don't want to, I think communicating is critically important. We just need to think of those couple of things. What are we communicating, and do we need to?
Oops.
Jed's breaking up. He's making good points, and I see no problem running things by the town board. I mean, Vicky and Jim have been very responsive. I don't see that as a problem. If we need to communicate, it's not a daily thing. We're going to say, these are the things we want to discuss this month. Are you okay with this missive? And the town board will give us their yay or nay.
And just back on the pollinators, I want to just, I put into the chat and I put into the Slack channel a link about pollinators pathways in New York State, which include a bunch of them in Ulster County, including the Woodstock pollinator pathway. And just a reminder from a note, we had this similar discussion last month on January 12th. I think we were talking about, can we create a map of all the pollinator gardens in the town of Olive, and as part of communication, be able to do that. So,
Oh, I just had an idea. Does anybody know about geocaching?
Geocaching?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's like a little scavenger hunt thing. And if we do have success with the pollinator gardens, if somebody plants a geocache in there, that will get a whole bunch of other people doing the scavenger hunts, and they'll come to the garden to find the geocache. So
with shovels.
Oh no, you don't bury it. You put it somewhere like on a post or something, but they even put things underneath a rock. But I just found out about it. I guess they've been doing it for like 30 years, and I just found out a year ago about it. But good point, Chet, about the content, because if somebody asks me about what does this organization do, I'm not exactly sure what I could show them and offer them to educate them. So thanks for that comment.
Right. We do have a nice mission statement that we wrote up, I don't know, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think I asked Simon to send it to me because I wanted to know more about it. So he sent me the mission statement.
Good. And that's still not on the website, but it could be.
It should be.
Yeah. So in terms of actual sort of product that we could share, probably the most, the biggest coming thing is the home energy conservation workshop that Matt's pulling together. And it's looking like it's going to be a big and successful deal. And if you want something more of a document, Joe, I can send you the electronic version of the natural resources inventory.
Okay. I don't need it, but yeah, that would be helpful.
If we want to show off something that's beyond just words,
yes,
just us talking, these are one's an event, one's a document.
Okay, thanks.
And we already did the community solar program, which was successful. You can send off that literature as well.
Right.
Community solar.
Going back to Matt's point on website update, perhaps what we do we have a person among us who's responsible for coordinating with I guess it's either Rebecca or the assessor, Deanna. I think Deanna's the kind of overall in charge, with Rebecca doing updates like calendar listings and things like that. But to the extent that we want to put the mission statement, to the extent we want to put news like the home energy workshop, to the extent that we want to put our project list on the website so people have got a sense for the types of things we're working on, since we just created that project list a week or so ago and distributed to the Ontiora students, seems to me that would be a great thing to put on the website too. We just need to keep it updated.
So are you asking for a volunteer to interface with the people of the town board who work on the website?
Yes, sir. Are you putting a hand up?
Well, let me expand that I'd like someone to volunteer to be the communication czar, which includes this, but which also could include a newsletter and other outreach activities.
But who's the czar?
He's asking for a
I was
volunteer.
thinking of somebody who looked like you, Matt.
I thought I might be able to ask Nichelle or someone to help out with that stuff.
Well, you can certainly, you would need a committee to, but you've been passionate and often about communication and outreach and often disappointed about what we're actually doing.
I am.
So I think you've got the energy, and also you seem to have a talent for external communication, for reaching out to people.
I'm happy to reach out to Rebecca and the people of the town so I can do that stuff, but I would need to have some sort of a consensus from this group and from the people of the town that they're interested in putting things up on the website.
Well, there's the website, and we've been talking off and on about a newsletter. The way I'm envisioning it is that each of us who are, working on or chairing a project could give you, if we decide to do a quarterly newsletter, Simon could do a blurb on on lighting, and that
Joe and Jack can do the pollinator garden.
that's right.
Yeah, well, just everybody gives you a little update.
Everybody gives you 30 words,
Mhm.
and 5 people that give you 30 words. We have a newsletter.
I can help volunteer for
That's
the
great. I
newsletter.
appreciate that, Joe. You're in. Let's not commit to a quarterly newsletter. Let's try and get a
Annually.
newsletter.
And
Let's just do one.
I'm gonna have Simon and Susan help me because they always put out a very, very good newsletter for their Christmas cards. So
Okay.
I'm excited. And I did it once
Great.
when I was in high school. I was I did things for the wrestling team. So I made a newsletter for that.
Cool.
I'm not
So
saying I'm
we-
good at this. I'm just gonna help.
I used
So
to
we
be
had,
I used to be captain of my high school wrestling team, so I would have appreciated that.
Oh, there you go.
Wait,
so-
Dan, you're a wrestler?
I was high school and college.
No way. What weight did you wrestle?
My neck is now here. My neck used to be like that.
I think
You don't
Chet had
have
something he wants to
cauliflower
add.
ears.
Guys, I think
I
Chet
do
had
have
something.
my left ear has a cauliflower, and
Oh.
right after it, I started wearing headgear, but I still have a cauliflower.
Chet, you had something you want to add?
as a wrestler in high school and college, I appreciate Dan's, positions on everything. So, no, I was just saying that we had a communication champion, which was Liz, right? And she created some assets. So we have in Slack, we have at least a letterhead. We have a few assets to begin with, but, I think that Matt's, I also support Matt leading that activity with Joe's help and obviously everybody else providing some content. That's the only way it works.
Right.
Mhm.
And even though Liz is not formally an associate anymore, she has, when we've asked her for graphics, she has stepped up. And also, my wife Maxine is a graphic designer, and she, we can't take too much of her time, but if we need something designed, she's terrific.
Be right back. Good.
Okay.
Good.
I
think
feel
we-
good because that's something I can do from Kentucky.
We jumped onto item 13, but I think we covered it pretty well. So let's go back. And when Matt comes back, we'll jump over climate smart communities and certification. And then when he comes back, we'll get to that. So Dan, do you want to talk about solar mapping and where, if there's anything directly relevant that we're doing there right now, or should that fall off the list at this stage?
We're both intentionally and by dint of inertia going slowly on that. Intentionally because the town board has expressed some concern about weaving that into overall land use and even an overall comprehensive plan, and not getting too far ahead of the game by identifying potential solar sites either before we have a comprehensive plan and or before, rezoning and or before a open space inventory. So Spencer and I have the capability to access the maps. We're sort of now that the classes are over, we're sort of reviewing our skills to see if we can generate maps, but I don't want to generate a real map until sort of the climate is ready for it.
So should we take this off the agenda for the moment and it can come back on when the timing is more propitious in terms of land use comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Matt,
just
we
a question about, so is there a schedule for comprehensive plan? Because I mean, the OSI is supposed to be an input to a comprehensive plan, so.
Right. That would
So
be a
let-
question. That would be a question.
There is not yet a schedule. We're doing preliminary work on, and we're gonna be talking about it at the town board meeting next week.
Okay. And Dan, although you volunteered to get on the map, the reality is, we're talking about putting in large data sets of information, either tapping into, to be able to create the inventory, being able to get that information from a bunch of different places. So it would seem like we would need a budget and a consultant to help us, because we don't have a mapping tool. I mean, having a paper map is interesting. Shandaken has an OSI, which is 75 pages of maps that nobody uses, right? We want to create something that becomes more accessible and usable. So
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Well,
We can
same
talk
with
about that
Rochester.
offline.
Rochester has a 100-page document, which no one ever looks at. So that leads us into the open space inventory grant hustle. I did make a couple contacts. One with a woman at the DEC regarding the Community Forest Conservation Grant Program. And she said, I asked her about, would an open space inventory qualify as a part of a potential grant around forest preservation? And she said, maybe. She's doing some work on it and she'll be getting back to me through the state, the DEC portal. So I'll need to check the portal probably next week to see if there's an answer to that question. Other than that, there's other organizations that we'll need to reach out to, everyone from Scenic Hudson to, I think there's like 3 or 4 different organizations that we could reach out to.
Yeah, and Dan, let's communicate through email or Slack or however, but this is where last year there's from the Hudson River Estuary, there is funding specifically to create OSIs and OSPs for water for estuary towns, and we're considered an estuary town because the water that flows out of the town of Olive goes into the Hudson River.
Good.
So it would seem like, and that's where all these other programs are getting funding, and it seems like there's a body of knowledge around that. And we kind of got, I think if we tee that up with headlights that says there's a cycle coming, that would be a good thing to do. So I don't know what the latest cycle is. I'll look and I'll.
Could you look?
get the
Do you know
information.
anybody
Yeah,
there? Chet, do you know anybody there?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so let's communicate in writing or by phone. And first task is to find out what their funding schedule is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And once we do that,
And if we can't, for whatever reason, I think the challenge last year was we found out about it really late, and we were like, hey, this is money to be able to do what's a core mission of ours, and we just think we want to be able to have communicate that much earlier. So
Good.
I'll get with you on that.
yeah. I'm seeing this as my highest priority right now, is going after grant money, and it does seem like the Hudson River Estuary is the most likely funder.
And it is an important element of the comprehensive plan. So it's difficult to get the comprehensive plan comprehensively done unless we've got the open space inventory as part of it.
Right.
Good.
Right, and then the other
Just wait, let me
partnership.
just interrupt, Chet, let me just jump
Go
in
ahead.
for a second. I was speaking to Jim a couple of weeks ago about some of this other stuff we're working on. And he was kind of saying, Vicky, you can back me up on this, that he was willing to spend some money from the town fund to do like one of the first couple of steps of the comprehensive plan while he was looking for grant funding to do the rest. And maybe we should talk to Jim about the timing of the Open Space Institute, Open Space Inventory, since we need that for the comprehensive plan.
So we're looking at whether we can use some of the ARPA money that we got from the federal government, the American Rescue Plan Act, to do the preliminary work on the comprehensive plan. There's the document that lays out what you can pay for with ARPA is huge and teeny print and really hard to get through. It's a project just to read it, but we are working on that.
Great.
And should know more soon. We have a lawyer that we've consulted who's pretty much an expert, it seems like, on the ARPA, and he's advising us.
And of course, you're allowed to use ARPA money for lawyers,
Yes.
of course.
Who do you think wrote the ARPA?
So
Right.
Dan, that could be helpful to you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Dan, anything else on the open space inventory?
That's it for now.
Okay, so shall we go back to, since we jumped over Matt when he so rudely left us, go back to climate smart communities and certification and to clean energy communities?
Wasn't so rude. Now that I finally have power, I'm cooking, and I'm glad to be able to do that. Yes, I'm happy to go back to that stuff. So just to give a quick background, a couple of sentences. The Climate Smart Community Program is a statewide program. The town of Olive is trying to become a bronze community. And we are acquiring the documentation for all of the environmental tasks and programs that we have done and submitting it to NYSERDA. We're very close, and we just need one or two more things to be able to submit our application to become a bronze community. Once we do, we should get the ability to apply for more and better grants and or lower interest loans. So that is all moving forward. I have been balancing a number of these different items, and we're getting close. One thing we did, so Joe and Michelle know, we ran that community solar program where we offered people the opportunity to sign up to get solar electricity and get a discount on their electric bill. And that was a successful program, and we got about 1 to 2% of the households in the town of Olive to sign up.
We got about 30 households, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
And, you know, we it looks like there's about 1,700 households, so we're almost 2%, which is great. And that enabled us to apply for and get a $5,000 grant. So one of the items that we need to do to get our bronze status is an ASHRAE study, Association of, I don't know, heating engineers or something like that. And we have gotten proposals. We did a town RFP. The town board should be approving our ASHRAE study at the meeting next week. And that will enable us to submit our application. In the meantime, with that $5,000 grant, we're going to spend some on the ASHRAE. And the next thing we're going to do is run a community energy efficiency program where we are offering everyone in the town the opportunity to get a free or low cost energy assessment of their house and the recommendations for what to do with those to fix their house and to make it more energy efficient. Some of those things, again, depending on income, will be free. And some of those things, depending on income, will cost money, and people can choose what they want to do. But there seems to be a lot of money out there for individual households to get energy efficiency improvements, from insulation to weather stripping to they have a big push for heat pumps, which are expensive, but there's a big push for heat pumps. And there's lots of money available for people to get their hands on to do these things in their houses. So we have made an arrangement with the Cornell Cooperative Extension Program out of Cornell University to run a workshop at the Olive Library. And what we're going to do is use our $5,000 grant, or what's left of it, to create a postcard, mail to everyone in the town, and invite them to a workshop where they can fill out the application, meet the people at the CCE. They will run the program, and they will tell people how they can apply, what programs they're eligible for, and they will send over the free energy assessor to their house. And again, we're looking for between 1% and 2% of the households in Olive to take advantage of this opportunity. I think I'm done.
So, one that's really exciting, and you really made a lot of progress, especially on the home energy efficiency. And two, just a little background for people who are new, that from our research, we found that the single greatest contributor to reducing greenhouse gases is making homes more energy efficient. You know, it's a bigger bang for the buck than solar, bigger than wind, bigger than than almost anything. And it's old technology. It's putting in styrofoam and fiberglass, and it makes a huge difference, both from in the amount of energy people use, because most people still burn fossil fuels to get their electricity or their home heat, and even in terms of gases leaking into the atmosphere. So this is a big deal. If we can get 50, 100 homes to tighten themselves up, that would be amazing.
I've got 5 at Olive right now. I'd like to do. Is it limited to just one per person? Is it just
no, any
primary
household.
residence?
No,
Any
not
household.
at all.
We
Wow.
want to
Any
get all of
household,
them.
you can be an owner or resident. If you pay an electric bill in the town of Olive, you're on.
All right.
The New York State CLCPA, which is the act that essentially requires that by 2030, that 70% of our electricity comes from renewable sources by 2040. All of our electric generation is carbon free, is also mandating that 2 million homes in New York will have energy efficiency audits and be upgraded, which by 2030, that means they've got to do more than 200,000 a year. And the current pace is 20,000 a year. So there's huge amount of work that needs to go into, and huge amounts of money they're going to be made available to try and meet those goals.
Yeah, sure. There's lots of money available.
So I think
Oh,
lots
one
of
more thing on the
businesses-
energy efficiency program. I've scheduled with the Cornell Cooperative Extension and the library to do this event on June 14th. So at the library, June 14th, hopefully we'll be able to meet in person, and we can also Zoom it from there. But everything takes a while to do. And I have, Simon, did you send that memo that I wrote around to Vicky and the people on this group?
I don't think I did, but I was going to include it with the draft minutes. And I thought you were sending it to the town board, either via Vicky or directly to Jim.
Oh, I
Which is
was
why I
going
didn't
to
send
send it to Vicky, but when I sent a note to Jim the other day, they're kind of swamped with the power nonsense. So I figured I would wait until after the next meeting and then send it over. So I have a memo about all this stuff, detailing what we're going to do, who we're working with, how much it costs, etc. I'll send that around.
Yeah, and what I would say, send it to Vicky and let Vicky decide how best to put
Exactly.
it in front of the town board.
Well, that would be great if you could send it to me.
Is that a margarita or just lemonade?
Neither do I have to say? It's a good color, right?
It is a good color. Let's move on. Okay. So climate smart communities, anything on clean energy communities?
That's part of the community energy efficiency program. And we have, again, there's all these different monies available. It's really difficult, as Vicky knows from reading these different proposals and applications, to sort through it all. There is money available. There are things we can do. Technically, this community energy efficiency program could be part of this clean energy community program, which would get us more points and maybe some money. However, they take so long to do everything. I don't know that I could work with them and make this June deadline, believe it or not. You're supposed to get 4 high impact actions on this community energy stuff. Yeah, the climate community energy stuff. And we have 2. We have approved a unified solar permit and one other, or the community solar thing. So maybe I can backdate it and get the community energy efficiency program approved, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, just for newcomers like Nichelle, that these are the climate smart communities and what's the second one we're talking about now, Matt? These are 2 different.
Community, Simon, what'd you call it? Clean
energy communities, which is a
Right.
kind of, if you took a Venn diagram and you had climate smart communities and clean energy communities, they're both within New York State's ambit, and they have various actions like another acronym, CCAs, which go across both. And I think this community energy efficiency goes across both, but some things are more energy focused and some things are more climate broadly focused. But from what I'm told from talking to other towns, people think there's likely to be more money in the clean energy communities than there is in climate smart communities, which is why some towns like Marbletown are focusing their efforts on clean energy communities, because they think there are more grants available. In fact, I think, Matt, you said there was maybe a $250,000 grant availability once we get signed up for clean energy communities.
Yeah, so these
once
these
we
are
get
2
bronze.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, Simon and Dan and everybody, that there's 2 different organizations that you have to submit proposals and paperwork and all this nonsense to. But basically, you're doing the same thing. Back to the matter is the clean energy communities thing. If you were to get 4 high impact actions, there is a $500,000 grant. There's a $250,000 grant. There's lots of money, but boy, you have to jump through hoops to get anywhere near that money.
Right. So these are almost competing state agencies, although they have the similar missions. So we're trying to play both of them.
Yeah.
And they all, their priorities are right on target. They mean well, and they have money and also offer information support. So they're basically good, but it's confusing, and there's a lot of boundary crossing and legal writing that's involved. And Matt's learning that.
Anyway, we're navigating it. The OCAC is getting very close to having good relationships with both organizations, and we have lots of people helping us along the way, from the Hudson Valley Regional Council to the Ulster County Climate Smart Community. So we're getting there.
Good.
So I'd like to bring up one thing that's relevant to both of those, and that we've talked about it at length in this group, which Nichelle and Joe probably aren't that familiar with, and that's community choice aggregation, CCA. That counts as a high impact action because it's a town, any municipality that decides to do it essentially is switching over the energy supply for all the residents and for small businesses, unless you opt not to have your energy supply, to an energy supplier that's picked by the town. And in most towns, aggregate their demand along with many other towns into what's called a CCA, or community choice aggregation, which is run by a CCA administrator. And we've had a couple of the CCA administrators. There are essentially 2 for-profit administrators out there, and there's at least 1 not-for-profit. And the reason they do this is because they want to aggregate across many towns to get you the cheapest energy supply you can, and also to green the energy supply. If you look at what Central Hudson provides, they don't even tell you how much green is in their energy that they buy. And they say they can't even tell how much energy is green, but you can bet it's only a very small proportion. Most of it is either gas-fired or coal-fired, or in the old days with Indian Point, it could have been some nuclear, but most of it is from large fossil fuel fired generation that they buy in because they're not allowed to generate themselves. If we were to join a CCA or start our own CCA, one, it would get us more of these high impact points, but the issue we've had is that we weren't terribly happy with the performance of the existing Hudson Valley Community Power CCA, and also their somewhat narrow thinking, because we wanted to go beyond, or we had suggested that our town go beyond the sort of pure bulk purchase of energy on behalf of the residents and get into local community solar or community hydro or community wind and energy efficiency and other actions that go beyond what the sort of the for-profit administrators are doing. I got a call today from Jeff Demansky, who some of you will remember is the administrator for the local CCA, asking whether or not we'd made a decision, but expecting that we would say that given that energy prices are very high now, and most CCAs are having trouble getting good pricing, and that we'd said before that we wanted our CCA to go beyond the sort of traditional CCA, that we were waiting on Kingston making a decision on whether they were to go with what you might call CCA 3.0, which does all the things I talked about before. And I said that would be my advice to the group, but I said I would bring it up to the group and see if we have any difference of opinion on that, because I know the town board has been waiting for the OCAC to come back to them and say, okay, we think it's time to get started on a CCA. Jim had somewhat reluctantly agreed to put a halt to moving forward on the CCA because we had suggested that, one, that the pricing isn't very good right now, and most towns that are looking at it are not going forward with new energy contracts because the pricing's so high. And 2, none of the CCAs that are local were integrating community solar or other things into their offerings. So as I said, my advice would still be that we hold off for the moment and we wait and see what's happening at the both the administrator level with new administrators who are looking to bring in broader packages of offerings to our residents, and also that we should be able to integrate community solar. And right now, New York State's put a hold on integrating community solar into CCAs until the utilities get their billing systems and IT systems into shape. So I told Jeff that I would bring this up today, that I would reiterate my previous advice, but I would talk about it and we could decide between us whether we wanted to change our recommendation to the town board, which had been hold off on doing anything with CCA for the moment.
And did Jeff Szymanski offer you an incredible price on electricity?
No, he said he fully understood. He is personally out of contract with Jewel, which is his for-profit administrator, and he's looking forward to the Kingston CCA because I think he'd really like to jump over and work on running that, because it gets much broader goals of energy efficiency and community solar into a CCA than the one that he's currently working with.
Yeah.
Sorry to break in. I'm gonna have to end this meeting in about 10 minutes. If you guys want to, because there's another meeting on the same account at 7:30. If you guys want to keep meeting, I can give you a link to go to another Zoom on my other account. I didn't anticipate this going on quite as long.
Well, it's supposed to go to 7:30.
Oh, it is. Oh, sorry. I also didn't realize the 2 were on the same account.
We'll talk till 7:29, Simon.
Let's give it
Yeah,
7:22.
They tend not to come
I
on
agree
till
with
last
Joe.
minute,
Let's
so I
keep
can give you
going.
till 7:20.
7:20, we accept.
Thank you. Sorry.
Simon, I just want to say that I really appreciate your leadership and your acumen. I'm a little torn. I kind of feel maybe we should jump in there, even if it's not perfect, and add those other things later.
Yeah, that's my instinct too, except that there's two there's two benefits to this program. One is it's cleaner energy, and two, it's that it's the same or lower price than Central Hudson. And if we end up, and this is a opt-out process, so it means that a majority of the town members will be moved there without saying anything. And if they get moved to a CCA and find their energy bills go up, that could be very, very bad public relations for us.
I won't disagree
And
with that.
so I'm agreeing with Simon to go slow for the time being and see
Okay,
if energy price, because if, does anybody have a different opinion or a similar opinion?
I don't know enough about it yet. I'm just listening to all what you guys said, so I have no opinion at this time.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
good.
if energy prices were good with the CCAs that are out there now, I know that the Albany area, for example, was going to go ahead with a CCA last year, and a whole number of towns, and they all decided not to do it because energy prices were high, and they didn't want to have exactly what Dan just said, which is residents saying, hey, it might be great that you're doing this as a community, but you've just signed me up for more expensive energy supply. Why would I want that?
okay,
I think the right answer is community solar once New York State allows that back in, which is what Marbletown got in under the wire. And that way you're assured a savings against the utility bill, which means you can also bring in the lower middle income people because they need to get what's called if they're assistance program recipients, their energy supply has to be lower than the utility in order for them to qualify. So I think we should wait until the New York State issue is resolved with the utilities, which should be in the next several months. And then we should go whole hog with a community solar offering to everyone, which I know that the Kingston-led CCA is focusing on doing that.
okay.
That's my recommendation. Anyway.
That's good that it's months and not years. I thought something with New York State might take years.
Yeah, no, we
They-
can do this. We can do this apart from, we're just waiting for New York State to include community solar, that this is essentially a town decision.
Okay, so is this something we actually need to take a vote on, Dan?
I think we
Okay.
should. I think we should.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
All right, so I'm for my proposal is, which I'll ask for a seconder, that we have discussed CCA and propose that we hold off on suggesting to the town of Olive that we move forward with the CCA until there's more clarity on integrating community solar into a CCA offering. Do I have a seconder?
Not quite. I'd like to add a codicil of if we don't know by September, then we need to make a yes and no decision. I don't want to wait beyond September.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
yeah, I'm good with September. I do feel that for a number of reasons, we've been talking about this for the longest time, and it's good to act. And the second thing is, when we implement a CCA, that gives us our fourth high impact item for the clean energy communities, which enables us to apply for grants. So I'll go, let's go for September and take it from there.
Is September too late since people are making commitments in August for energy for the coming winter? I'm just wondering.
It's going to be a 6-month process, at least from when we start, because
Okay,
the state mandates that there's a very long explanation period, lots of mailers sent out, lots of meetings held. So it's a long process from when we decide to hire an administrator and go ahead with the process. So we wait till September, we won't be implementing it until probably March of 2023.
Yeah,
Great,
I
okay.
agree. Everything takes forever.
Mhm.
So September sounds like a long way away. It's not. And if we start then, that's great.
Good. And just an aside, for Matt and Joe and all you communication freaks, that there's tons of communication that's involved with this. there's what, 2 or 3 rounds of postcards that, you know, the administrators have to go to great lengths to make sure
Mhm.
everybody is fully in town, is fully informed, because they're going to get moved without them doing anything. So the state requires several rounds of communication to the residents.
Right.
And I just want to add that, Joe, when you make up this newsletter or the postcard for the CCA program, that we have 2 wrestlers who we can show their pictures. That would be very impressive.
Our high school pictures with our tank tops.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chad, I would love to see that. Dan, that'd be so great. And we could
I
say
have a visual in
this
my
is-
head right now.
Exactly. This
Guys,
is
we
your
got 6 minutes.
OCAC.
We got 6 minutes. First of all,
All right.
do we,
done.
I propose that resolution, including Dan's codicil. Dan, you seconded it.
Yes.
All in
Approved.
favor?
I
Okay.
Aye.
Anyone against? Any discussion? Fine. We need to zoom through this because we get cut off in 6 minutes.
Was that a-
Next on the list is solar code local law. I know I have done nothing on this. Jack had done a little bit of research, but we need to, I think, push this off till next month. 'cause I just
But
haven't
wait,
had a chance.
Simon, I just found out that the town of Olive has already approved the state uniform solar code.
I think a solar permit is what we've approved, that we
Okay,
can
unified
officially
solar
give a
permit.
permit, right? I don't think that's the same as having a local law, which is a solar code, which is what we're talking about.
Okay, fine. Next.
LED streetlights. I spoke to the New York Power Authority. They said they need the most recent bill. I have not been able to download that from the Central Hudson website, but that's in my bailiwick to handle. Get over to NIPA so they can update the proposal so that we then can make a formal proposal via Vicky to the town board. It won't be certainly this week. It won't probably be in a month's time, but it might be in 2 months' time.
Simon, let me jump in for 1 minute or 1 second, which is at the last Ulster County Climate Smart Community Meeting. The guy from Woodstock said that they have saved 17% on electric bills by switching over to their LED lights.
Wow. Wow.
And
It's a lot.
I think that the number that we got from NIPA the last time around, when I think it was then before Supervisor Franco's, Sylvia shot it down because of maintenance issues, was significantly more of a saving than that even. So if we own our own street lights, we purchase them through NIPA, they charge us a financing fee, but we pay them off over 6 years. Our street lighting bill falls by something like 80% from the existing bill now. Once we've bought the lights, and even buying the lights with their financing brings us a cheaper bill than we pay Central Hudson now. Anyway, we're going to get an updated proposal. I should get that sometime in the next month. Moving on.
Simon, what's your prediction as to when we quote unquote pull the switch and actually have a contract? And they
I
start
think,
to-
well, it takes a while. We need to go out and reaudit the streetlights we have, which means driving around, noting which ones are LED, which ones aren't working, which ones are not LED, what kind of lights they are. And that might be something that the Ontiora students can help with. I put that on the list for discussion. We need to get the proposal to NIPA, so they'll get the current bill to NIPA so they can come back to us with a proposal. And then we need to notify Central Hudson that we want a buyout offer from them, which NIPA will finance. And once we get the buyout offer, then NIPA will do the installation of the new street lights to replace the Central Hudson ones, and then they'll become ours. And David will be tasked
This
with
is the
managing it.
kind of nightmare that you have to deal with just to replace your streetlights. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah.
How
And we have
many
40.
how many bureaucrats does it take to change a light bulb? Right.
Exactly.
Oh,
All right.
an LED light bulb.
We've got 3 minutes. We've talked about the pollinator gardens. We've talked about the education program. Boyceville visioning, anything to cover there, Dan?
Well, first, Cynthia has been the greatest ally that we could have ever wished for, Cynthia Nicotin. And they're marching along. I think probably the biggest news I said before is their most likely, first action is going to be pollinator planting with the students in the high school.
They're also presenting to the town board next Tuesday.
Good. So anybody that wants to see a real live town board meeting. It's better than CNBC.
Hey,
A
Vicky,
real life Zoom town board meeting.
are you discussing the comprehensive plan at the Monday meeting or the Tuesday meeting?
I'm not, probably the Monday meeting. I'm not sure. I'll
Okay,
find
'cause-
out and let you know.
I was told that the visioning got pushed to Tuesday because Monday was so busy.
Yeah, there's a lot on the agenda for Monday.
Right. So anyway, so you'll see if anyone attends the town board official meeting next Tuesday, they're going to present the Boyceville visioning where they are on it so far. And as Dan said, Cynthia's been a fabulous ally.
1 minute
All right,
left.
before we want to run out of time, I just want to thank Joe and Michelle for coming on board. We appreciate your input.
You're welcome. Glad to be
Thank-
here.
No,
Thank you. Sorry, I was
Thank
very
you.
quiet today, just listening.
I hope
That's
we
okay.
excited you and not confused you.
I'm sure both.
This is great. I enjoyed it.
Thank
And
you.
the only other item on the list was meant to be Spencer giving us an update on the Trello project management software to which everyone should get access. But since he wasn't able to join us, we'll have to push that off till next month.
Okay.
Good.
I did receive something from him and accepted it. It looks like it's very simple.
It's simple, it's graphic, it's unusual for software.
All right,
Oh,
I think
okay.
we need to, Dan, if you're talking to Spencer, we need to get Nichelle onto it as well.
Sure.
All right, Simon, that's a good meeting. Dan, that's a lot of stuff we covered. Well done.
It is very efficient.
And I'll
So-
try to be more timely with getting the minutes out, the draft minutes out
Right.
this time.
So we all have
You
things.
You
either
can
to-
wait as long as the minutes are as good as they were.
I'll
Right.
send them to you first for your review.
Oh,
So we all have things to do.
Yeah, I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
well done, Chester.
Okay,
Second.
bye,
Second.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Good night,
Thanks,
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Get the link out
Bye.
of the video to you tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.